think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to go.
I think so, yes.
Okay. Councilors, the hour of 7 o'clock has arrived. I will call to order this regular meeting of the Keene City Council. The meeting is being broadcast live on City of Keene YouTube channel and Spectrum channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you would like to receive an electronic city council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the city clerk's office during business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city's meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Keaton Bosley.
Here.
Laura E. Tobin.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Randy Ophelio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Edward J. Haas. Philip M. Jones.
Present.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris E. Roberts.
Here.
Raleigh C. Omerod.
Here.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
And Councilor Tobin, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion on the January 4th inauguration and council meeting minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt the minutes of the January 4 and inauguration and the January 4 regular meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Bosley. All those in favor, if there are no comments, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. Motion carries unanimously. And one announcement, or several announcements, but happy birthday to Laura Tobin, who is celebrating on January 28th. Other announcements, on your desk this evening, you're going to find the proposed capital improvement program document for 2025 through 2031. The council's review starts with a workshop this Saturday at Heberton Hall. The start time for Saturday's program has been advanced to 7:30. Yes?
Refreshments will be available at 7:30. We will start
With the
at 8.
start time at 8. And this is so that if councilors are interested in attending any presidential candidates who might be in town on Saturday, that you'll have ample time to get to those events. So we'll begin with small table review and discussions with city councilors and planning board members. Opening comments initially planned by the city manager will occur at the FOP meeting on Thursday, the following Thursday. Coffee and snacks will be available for councilors in advance, beginning at 7:30. The CIP document will be reviewed by the FOP committee after that. Their meeting dates where they'll consider the capital improvement plan are January 25th, February 8th, and tentatively at their February 22nd meeting. And that meeting will start at 5:30 to consider the CIP for a vote. Light dinners will be provided in advance of those early meeting dates for councilors who plan to attend. Is there any kind of communication that you want from councilors relative to that?
We have
You'll plan ahead.
Who wants to eat?
Okay. So other announcements, the council workshop on potential changes to the rules of order has been scheduled for February 13th. We'll begin that meeting at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. And last, the statement of interest forms, if you have not already done so, please submit them to the clerk's office by the end of January. All right. I'd now like to recognize Counselor Powers and invite Diane Thiel to come forward for us to present a resolution to her upon her retirement. We should have rolled you up.
Between a couple of thorns here. All right, so in appreciation of Diane M. Thiel upon her retirement, resolved by the City Council of the City of Keene as follows. Whereas Diane M. Thiel joined the city employment on March 14th, 1988, as account clerk 1 in the finance department, specializing in ambulance billing, and was promoted to office manager at the Keene Police Department November 14th, 1988. And whereas with her technical and managerial skills complemented by her historical knowledge of the department, Diane led by example to ensure the Records Bureau met all its time-sensitive requirements under the law, provided excellent customer service to the thousands of citizens a month with whom they had contact in person or by telephone, with not a single complaint about their service received during multiple years, and she consistently enhanced her personal, professional, and leadership skills through trainings and, whereas her excellent planning and time management efforts ensured that the Bureau met expected high standards and the timelines required by the city, by the county attorney's office, the circuit court, and the superior courts, internal procedures and other statutory guidelines were met or exceeded, even as workloads increased. And that smooth shifting from one assignment to another did not sacrifice the quality of their work. And whereas, whether billing or purchasing, Diane ensured that the finances for which she was responsible extended as far as possible. In other words, she was quite a penny pincher. Conducting research that saved the department thousands of dollars annually, and she used the software available to enhance administrative productivity for as many in the department as possible. She kept ahead of the continual changes to multiple software systems, and that the safety reports mandated for injuries or property damage were filed timely to avoid fines. And whereas, very open to many changes and challenges the department faced over the decades, eliciting opening communications from others and having extremely good long-range vision, Diane took a proactive approach to issues impacting her operations, kept staff members up to date on changes required in administrative procedures, gave them opportunities to be part of the decision-making process, solicited their ideas for betterment of processes, and removed obstacles to empower them for successful decisions, and continuously worked on team building and cross-training. And whereas, continually seeking and recommending suggestions for organizational improvements regarding the Bureau's work area and equipment, as well as excelling at tracking goals that fell under her purview. Some of Diane's significant achievements include instituting a new long-term goal of a 30-day turnaround for completion of discoveries, being instrumental in the development and successful implementation of the state's pilot program, Felonies First, introducing a lean and efficient records management system that reduced the time required from which to recover its data and to maintain going forward, playing a key role in the development of a series of forms to simplify and expedite work for field officers, assisting in creating performance evaluation forms and processes to meet both KPD and CALIA standards, implementing a process to more quickly provide field officers with equipment, uniforms, identification, and supplies, assisting with the move to and setup of the current facility, which at this point has probably been renovated twice, reorganizing department archival records, and setting up a new cash receipting system, and coordinating vest recalls. And whereas Diane retired on the 8th of December, 2023, with over 35 years of honorable service to the city, Now be it resolved that the City Council of Keene hereby extends its sincere thanks to Diane M. Thiel for her dedication to the City of Keene and wishes her the very best for her retirement years. And further be it resolved that a copy of this resolution, properly engrossed, be presented to Diane in appreciation of her years of service to our community. It was passed by the City Council on December 21st, 2023, and it was signed by Mayor George S. Hansel. Thank you.
I'll just add one thing. I want to thank Diane for all that she's done over 35 years working for the city of Keene and your contributions to Keene Police Department. And I'm sure some of your penny pinching ideas just fed the penny pinching chief for whom you worked. And thank you, Councilor Powers, for offering to read that for somebody who you've had such a long relationship with. I appreciate that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Really good. Come on over here. Take your time.
Best wishes, Diane and Robert. Thank you. The retirement proclamation for Court Bloomquist will be rescheduled to our February 1st meeting. And next, I want to invite Ted McGreer of Ted Shoe and Sports to come forward. And in keeping with my goal of recognizing the achievements of Keene businesses, students, and residents, I want to recognize Ted McGreer of Ted Shoe and Sports for his Gold Medal Service Award in 2023, awarded by Footwear Insights, a trade magazine for independent shoe stores. Ted, in arriving at this achievement, had to survive an application process, a mystery shopper who visited the store, and had to be judged on criteria that included customer service, problem solving, performing under pressure, and adjusting to changing market conditions. Ted, please come forward and accept our congratulations on your award. And if there are other guests that you'd like to recognize, please do.
I'd love that,
And please offer us a minute or two.
All right,
of
I can do
comment.
that,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you all, thank you, city staff and Mayor Khan and city council. I will say that this is quite an honor, and it's you know, we like the fact that you're gonna start doing this in the city and recognizing people at council meetings. I think that's really neat that you do that with people in town. I'll say that Footwear Insight magazine has a circulation of about 10,000. The publication is sent to every footwear brand in America, as well as every shoe industry retailer. While we finished with the highest score in the nation, the publisher told me, he called me and said this is the first time in their 10 years of doing this, there was a 4-way tie for first place. So as athletes, we hate ties, I can tell you that, but we'll take it. We're thrilled to put Keene on the map in a good way. I know Coach Hayes in the building, and in tennis they say you're only as good as your second serve. In business, you're only as good as the team you surround yourself with. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize my two general managers sitting in the back corner, Thomas Paquette and Jessica Harms. Thank you. The two of them have been with me a combined total of almost 20 years. Together, the three of us spend roughly 300 hours of training time with all new employees that come on board. It's quite a mission, and it's an effort to fulfill our customer-focused mission at TEDS. They keep me on an even keel, and they are truly my dream team. So I'm grateful to have a successful business on Main Street. We're grateful to be in a community which believes so wholeheartedly in shopping local. And we're especially grateful to Keene State College for providing fantastic students and internships to whom we've employed for the past 24 years. So thank you again very much.
And thank you. Congratulations on your award, and we've got a token pin
Very cool.
from the city for your, to wear at festivals.
Fantastic. I
Thank
got
you
my
very
own little
much.
key, huh?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So we will continue to try to identify worthy deeds and individuals at each city council meeting, so keep those nominations coming. I'd now like to open up the public hearing. I will call the public hearing to order and ask the clerk to read the notice of the hearing.
This public hearing is related to ordinance O 2023-16A and is a continuation of the public hearing originally scheduled for December 7th, 2023. The hearing was continued to allow the Joint Committee to review changes they requested to the original ordinance O 2023-16 at their November 23rd public workshop. Behind the public hearing notice in your packet, you will find the City Council's action from December 21, 2023, when you voted to substitute ordinance O 2023-16A as the subject of this continued public hearing notice, as well as you will find a red line version reflecting the language of ordinance O 2023-16A.
There was a sign-up sheet as you entered the room, and I will recognize people who have previously indicated that they wanted to speak. Afterwards, we'll call on anybody else who wishes to speak. I'd ask that everybody please state your name and address when you approach the mic. And I'd first like to recognize Jesse Rounds, Community Development Director, for a description of the ordinance amendment on Land Development Code charitable gaming facilities. Mr. Rounds.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors. I really want to keep this short so that everyone has a chance to comment, but I wanted to sort of go a little bit into detail beyond just the process that got us to the A version, and talk about what the new language says. So the genesis of this was that charitable gaming facilities prior to this proposed amendment were part of entertainment and recreation and entertainment facilities indoor, but they were not specifically called out. And so they were interpreted to be part of that use, and zoning administrators and community development directors don't like things that are interpreted. We want to have it spelled out in the code. And so after receiving a letter from the previous mayor, we looked into the definition of various types of, the charitable gaming in New Hampshire, and tried to figure out a way to create a definition that reflected charitable gaming in the state, and then tried to figure out the best places for that use in the community. And so we initially went to joint committee with a definition that focused purely on games of chance, which is one part of the charitable gaming world. And joint committee asked us to tune that up a little bit and add bingo and Lucky 7. So we went back to the drawing room and worked out a way to include both in one definition. And we think we've achieved that. Both charitable gaming as games of chance and then these Lucky 7 and bingo uses, while still protecting the ability of charitable organizations to hold bingo as an accessory use. We don't talk about that here, expecting that would be allowed. We also, and I think this gets lost a lot in the charitable gaming discussion, we proposed a change to the downtown district that would prohibit drive-throughs. Any drive-throughs that currently exist would be allowed to continue, and then anything that isn't proposed or in process right now would be allowed to continue. But in the future, right now, drive-throughs are allowed by special exception, which is a somewhat onerous process, and this would just reflect the fact that they may not be an appropriate use in a dense, walkable downtown area. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or walk away and let you hear from the public.
Questions from the council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call John Conforti.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is John Conforti. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer for the New Hampshire Lottery Commission. As Chief Compliance Officer, I oversee charitable gaming in New Hampshire, and that really composes two parts. One is under RSA 287D, games of chance. That is traditional casino games, such as blackjack, poker, roulette. Games of chance facilities may also apply for other licenses, including historic horse racing and Lucky 7 tickets. That's one component of what we regulate. The other component of what we regulate is under RSA 287E, and that's bingo, which also can include Lucky 7 sales and traditionally does include Lucky 7 sales. So currently we have 14 games of chance facilities operating in the state, including one here in Keene. There are the possibility of others that will be coming on board soon. And currently the legislature is looking at whether to expand the opportunity for games of chance facilities to also apply for additional historic horse racing licenses. Currently, that right is limited to the facilities that were in existence in May of 2020. There are several bills that are looking at extending the moratorium on future historic horse racing facilities, and there are many variations of that, which I'd be happy to speak to. But I just want to give you a general background. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have, which would assist you in considering the ordinance.
Could you explain to me the game's Lucky 7 and also what a historic horse racing facility is and what historic? What's that about?
Sure. So Lucky 7 are generally what are called pull tab tickets. They are boxed tickets or defined deals. They look like scratch tickets in some ways, but they reveal a result. And they're often sold by charities in set deals where there's a set prize payout for that deal. In certain instances, those tickets can be loaded into an electronic dispenser, which can give the look and feel of a gaming machine. It still is dependent on the ticket itself. And again, traditionally, those have been sold alongside bingo games. Only recently was that expanded to be sold with games of chance. So I hope I answer your question regarding Lucky 7. Historic horse racing machines are something that's relatively new to the state. They are, again, a terminal-based game. They will have the look and feel of slot machines or video lottery terminals that you might see in other jurisdictions. They're called historic horse racing machines because the result is dictated by the result of past run historic horse races. So instead of generating the result out of a random number generator, it generates the result out of a series of past races that are anonymous to the player, but are known to the machine. And so if you go into a facility, you really have two ways of playing that game. You can just play it like you would a traditional casino game and just hit the button and you'll see the result. Or you could attempt to handicap these historic horse races and try to get the result that way. So that is, again, a relatively new form of gaming here in New Hampshire. There are 10 facilities that have those types of machines, and they generate a decent amount of revenue. They're more revenue than Games of Chance alone. And currently, I believe we have just short of 2,000 machines within the state.
Any other counselors wishing to ask a question? Thank you for making this
So I was hoping you could just go into a little bit more detail about the moratorium
Yes.
and explain to us how, what the current moratorium is, what the proposed legislation for the continuation of the moratorium would look like, and what your interpretation of the reason for this moratorium being placed in the first place was?
Certainly. So currently, the way the law reads is that only Games of Chance facilities that were in existence as of May 2020 could apply for a historic horse racing license. So that limited the field of potential historic horse racing facilities to, I believe, 16 that met that definition. That restriction only runs through July 1 of 2024. So if the legislature doesn't take action this session, as of July 1, 2024, there's open access to for individuals or entities to apply for Games of Chance facilities and historic horse racing facilities. There are currently 3 separate bills pending in the legislature to address that. One bill would simply push the moratorium back by 2 years. There's also a Charitable Gaming Study Commission that the legislature is running right now. So the purpose of that bill is just to give that commission time to do its work, but it makes no other changes to the law. And then there are two bills that would extend the moratorium, but allow for an expansion for Games of Chance facilities that have applied as of October of 2023. So we've identified that universe as having only 5 potential applicants. So there's 2 bills. One would open that up to those 5 applicants and then extend the moratorium out for 4 years. And then there's another House bill that would similarly open it up to those 5 applicants, but would extend the moratorium out forever. So once those 5 licenses were in, that would be it for any other historic horse racing facilities in the state. The reason for the moratorium that was placed in the first instance was there was some trepidation about completely unfettered access to historic horse racing machines, and also a concern about restricting trade when the historic horse racing legislation was passed. And so as a compromise, the legislature grandfathered in these facilities that existed to allow these Games of Chance facilities to allow them to operate historic horse racing, but gave them a 2 or 3 year head start before opening up the field. I think at this point, the legislature seems to feel that there are a sufficient number of facilities, either in the existing number or slightly more. And so right now, there seems to be large consensus that a moratorium is necessary. It's just a question of how many years and whether the door is open to any other facilities before the door is closed again. So I hope that answers your question.
If I might ask as well, Are there other communities in New Hampshire that are also considering this type of ordinance or have such an ordinance in place today?
There are, City of Rochester, I believe, has already passed an ordinance. And I know that the City of Concord is considering an ordinance currently because they also have a facility on their main street, and then with an application for an expanded facility. So that City Council is now very much, as you are, looking at how they want to zone those uses going forward. And I believe Conway has also been looking at, they have, I believe, litigation right now regarding a zoning of a charitable gaming facility. And so they are also looking at potential ordinances going forward.
Counselor
Thank you, Your
Workman?
I would like you to speak a little bit towards what incentives or percentage for revenue goes towards gambling addiction and services to provide support for GA.
Happy to answer that question. We've had several gambling expansions over the last several years at the state level. One of those was with respect to sports betting. And when that passed in 2019, that included a funding mechanism for the first time from the state to a Council for Responsible Gaming, which is administratively attached to our agency. The funding level right now is at, I believe, $250,000 a year. And then there are other responsible gaming initiatives that are required for licensure, both from the sports betting and also from the charitable gaming facilities themselves. So in terms of state funding directly, that's that $250,000. But there are quite a number of initiatives that are done in association with licensure with the state. Either a direct membership with the Council for Responsible Gaming or responsible gaming measures that are put in place. And again, the legislature is also, as I said, they're in a study commission regarding expansion of charitable gaming. And one of the issues that has come up is what the right level of responsible gaming funding would be associated with that. I think everyone understands that as the revenues get higher, that there needs to be more of an investment in responsible gaming, both in terms of money and in terms of programs and resources.
Thank you very much for attending tonight. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Michael Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, like to congratulate you at your first meeting. I know that this community is second. Fortunate with your continued public service and looking forward to your leadership. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I am here to speak in opposition to the proposed amendment. I represent Dory Maston, who is a local business owner in downtown Keene. And the opposition is based on three bases. It's not in the best interest of the city to pass this proposed amendment that would prohibit this. It's not in the best interest of the downtown. The proposed amendment before you is based on literally no objectively verifiable information at all. I've attended every public hearing this proposed amendment has been discussed, and I respectfully submit that it is contrary to law. When I talk about that it's not in the best interest of the city or downtown, I'm referring specifically to this city's master plan. And the master plan of the city of Keene, purpose to have a sustainable community, one that's economically, environmentally, socially healthy and resilient. The economic and resilience and certainly socially healthy provides entertainment opportunities. The downtown goals that are outlined in the master plan that should really inform your decisions in this regard, specifically references the need to add recreational opportunities for downtown for both visitors and residents. And that was, as you know, the master plan was a lot of work and a lot of years to put together. And I suggest that that provides the framework for your consideration. Now, you'll hear more from some other local business owners who will speak in opposition to this in the downtown core, but I just want to reference two that people who weren't able to be here tonight wanted me to submit this in the record. And the first one is from Robin Smith, who's an associate broker at RE/MAX. And she says, "For 25 years, I have been a realtor in this community. One of the hardest things I find in my job is to sell people on residing in Keene. Yes, our small city is beautiful. However, the obstacles that I come across is that the property taxes are too high, the shortage of housing, and that you must travel out of town to participate in any activities, and the shopping is limited. I am in support of a downtown casino. Not only will this bring more people into our community to participate, but then those same people will shop and dine at our restaurants downtown, which in turn will bring more money to support other local small businesses. We need different types of businesses to attract folks to our area, to hopefully become a destination city for a weekend/vacation time. I certainly hope that you will strongly consider this downtown casino so that our downtown can once again start to thrive. Respectfully, Robin Smith." The second one is from Dick Thaxton, and he thanked me for contacting him for his input and said, "Well, I'm not a resident of Keene nor still operate a business. I have a lifelong familiarity with downtown Keene that extends well back to the 1960s. I remember when Steamtown USA started in Keene and anticipated Keene becoming a major tourist destination. And I remember when Keene proudly boasted of having the widest Main Street in America. We had significant shopping opportunities, and Main Street had a vibrant and profitable economic impact on the region. Objectively, there is little in downtown Keene to attract visitors as it is today. There is undeniably a fair number of excellent eateries and bars, but little else. The addition of a charitable gaming opportunity is both reasonable and complementary to downtown Keene's current businesses. I would strongly encourage this move to prohibit charitable gaming in downtown Keene be reconsidered, as it would be deleterious to the economic growth and vibrance of the area. In my considered opinion, as someone who has devoted most of the last 43 years to the sale and development of both residential and commercial real estate, this proposal is a mistake." And that's from Dick Thaxton, licensed real estate broker in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts. The economic impact with just the casino for Ms. Maston will provide 10 to 12 new full-time jobs that don't exist, in addition to part-time employment. The second reason that I suggest that this amendment should be voted against as it pertains to the downtown core and prohibiting charitable gaming. There is literally no objectively verifiable information or data at all that would support this amendment. None. I've heard from all the public hearings I've attended, the only thing that I've ever heard was, well, what about parking? Parking in downtown is the same for every business, and that is not going to change. The limitations of parking, both availability and time, are what they are, and that's going to continue to be the case. This planned business would have no impact that doesn't already exist for existing businesses. Also, it's important to know that this is only going to occupy, give or take, no more than 75 people in capacity, okay? Ms. Maston today could open up a nightclub there and that would have 200 people at all hours of the day and night, and I know the city has experience with some of those nightclubs that hasn't gone well. She could do that, but she couldn't have 75 people that could come for recreational opportunities downtown. I respectfully submit that makes no sense. And that, again, is the only information I've ever heard anyone talk about as to why this could be a potential problem. Lastly, I respectfully submit this is contrary to applicable law, and certainly in this circumstance in regard to Ms. Maston. What are the circumstances and the actual facts in regard to Ms. Maston and her desire to have this business at her property in downtown Keene? You know that she owns the poorhouse and a number of buildings next to it. Her proposed charitable gaming commission would be on the adjoining property to where the poorhouse is currently located. Beginning in September of 2023, Ms. Maston began the process pursuing a charitable gaming license from the state of New Hampshire. I'm glad that the gaming commissioner was here because this is one of the most highly regulated businesses in the state. While relatively new, you can see that they're continuing to be very involved in its regulation. Beginning of September 2023, when she started that included viewing specific sites that are currently in operation as specifically recommended by the Lottery Commission. She did additional due diligence, expending significant time and resources. She consulted with state officials and others in regard to the license application, the process, and its requirements. And she also thereafter met with city officials. In fact, she had requested particular information from the city in regard to plans and the buildings that would be involved, and explained in detail what she was going to do, what she wanted to do, what she anticipated doing. So you can imagine her surprise when very shortly thereafter she received or became aware of former Mayor Hansel's September 29th, 2023 correspondence suggesting that downtown core in Keene should not have charitable gaming. It wasn't a proposed amendment. There was no ordinance involved, just a letter, okay? And that has prohibited and limited her from going forward, despite all of the actions and investment she previously had taken. On October 13th of 2023, Ms. Maston submitted an email to, I believe, all of the then sitting city councilors to express her concerns about that letter, and specifically outlined to the council that it would prohibit one business, a specific indoor entertainment, and additionally, the existing charitable gaming facility, of which there is one in Keene, that the relationships, both financial and otherwise, in regard to the people involved seeking to prohibit her from using her business for her own economically viable purposes. That existing charitable gaming facility that currently exists is literally 5-minute walk from where she would like to have her business in the downtown core. And in all of the public meetings I've attended, there's only been one person that's spoken in spoken in favor of this amendment, and that's someone affiliated with the existing gaming facility that's 5 minutes away. I suggest that those circumstances should give you pause and support voting against the proposed amendment. Lastly, in regard to it being contrary to law, the proposed amendment specifically contrary to New Hampshire's preemption doctrine. What is that? That provides that municipal legislation is preempted if it contradicts state law and runs contrary to the legislative intent underlying a statutory scheme, and that can be either express or implied. The proposed amendment is preempted by state law, and it frustrates and contradicts the specific purpose of that state law, which is outlined in RSA 287D. The one thing I wish that the gaming commissioner was asked about was the 35% of the profits that go to support the nonprofits in this community and around the state. Because the amount of money that is going into nonprofits as a result of these charitable gaming facilities are significant. And certainly, there are a number of worthy nonprofits in this community that could benefit. I also submit that this is contrary to law because it's a regulatory taking. It's contrary to both the United States and New Hampshire constitutions, as the application of this proposed amendment to my client will deny her an economically viable, legally authorized use of her property, and I respectfully ask that everyone oppose this amendment as it relates to prohibiting charitable gaming in the downtown core. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you. One moment. Any
Certainly.
questions from counselors? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Michael Rijoli?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening,
evening.
folks. As I'm sure most of you know, I'm an abutter, and Dory is my landlord. Dory's my friend, and Dory's a fellow business owner in the downtown area. I'm here tonight to say that I really do oppose changing these rules on such short notice. Dory's a responsible business owner. She is talking about doing something that will bring more good-paying jobs into the area. And quite frankly, as I am an abutter, I'm somebody that is not opposed to her having the casino here. Anything that can help bring people into the downtown area is good for all the businesses in the downtown area. Both Councilmember Greenwald and Councilmember Bosley are friends. I've spoken to both of them about these things probably for the last 9 years. There's no difference here. Dory wants to take her capital and use it to build out her building to provide an entertainment venue in the downtown area. None of us know what's going to stick in the downtown or not going forward. We put things in places, they work, they don't work, we just don't know. That's really all I have to say. Dory wants to do this, and Dory wants to take her capital and build out a gaming venue in the downtown area, which is something that's legal in the state of New Hampshire. I don't think that anyone should actually be opposing this. It may fail, it may succeed. We all know that things have changed a great deal in the downtown area over the last 50 years. And we don't know what's going to succeed going forward. We don't know how many businesses are going to be left after we rip up the downtown area. But this may actually be one of them, or it may not. And that's really all I have to say about this. It's wrong for us to be interfering in general business. I respect the idea that the city is here to put together a set of rules that everybody must abide by, that we understand that we have a master plan. I've lived in many communities in and around northern Massachusetts and in New Hampshire that have these master plans, and I've always enjoyed living in those communities because I knew that those communities were going to stay intact and somewhat similar to the look and feel of what was there the day that I moved there. Although I don't live in the city of Keene, I live in Swansea. You all know that I own a business across the square from right here. And I don't see that this is actually going to change anything with regard to the downtown area, other than potentially bring some more people into the downtown area to help the restaurants and other businesses that are here close to the square. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And could you provide us with your address
Sure, I live at 64 West Street in Swansea.
in Swansea? Thank you very much, Mr. Rizzoli.
Yep.
Mr. Tempesta? If you'll give us a name and address,
Yeah,
please.
I'm Jimmy Tempesta. I own a business here in Keene,
And you reside?
and I reside in Swansea, 53 Eastview.
Thank you.
I'm here, not only I know Dory, but I'm here for small businesses. I am the guy that you could call the American dream. I started with a small little tiny restaurant with 2 children and worked my way up the ladder, and I finally came to Keene, and I have a good restaurant in Keene, pretty large. So I'm here supporting businesses. Anybody that has the guts to get out there and be an entrepreneur and fight to have a business, I back. And what I'm a little confused about and why I'm mainly here is that the fight that we're having here, that we have this already existing in Keene. We made that choice to allow it. We understand that. We know that this business down the road isn't causing problems. And I'm going to give you an example. My mother is 88. She's retired. I drive my mother to that casino with 8 other women. This is their out. This is their fun as retired. Very responsible. My mother pays her bills. But I love to see my mother out there. She'll go and she looks for a place to have something to eat. She goes out with all the girls. They play the slot machines. She comes home. She's all excited. It's wonderful. I sit at my restaurant and I watch customers come and go all the time. And I'm even trying to have more activities in Keene for people, elderly people that are responsible. I don't go to this casino because I own a restaurant. You all know I work very hard, so I don't have time for it. But I do have time to make sure my mother goes there and enjoys herself. My problem is that I just don't feel where the harm is going to happen if we have it on the main street of Keene. Because I'll be honest with you, I would rather see my mother walking Main Street, shopping at stores and stopping in the casino where it's much more safer and lighted than where our casino is now. If you look where our casino is now, we're at the end of a street with dark parking lot. I have nervous for my mother. So I'm not going to be the only one that's going to speak like this. I guarantee you that a lot of people in Keene feel the same way I do. And, you know, let's talk about the casino, because people immediately, oh, casino, gambling, problems. Those days are gone. This is like bingo to my mother. Now, everybody don't say hush, hush about bingo. Now, if Dory wanted to open a bingo hall there, would we be here today? Now, that's same as what the Lottery Commission just said, that he said there's bingo and chance. It's the same thing. I just am very confused that we allowed this 3 years ago, and why wasn't this decision made that we're not going to allow it on Main Street back then? How come now we're making that decision? Why come is it bad now for Keene? Why was it good then and now it's bad? And we all know, I feel I know, because there's somebody opposing it, and I don't think this is fair. I don't think it's fair to a hardworking business owner like Dory. She proves herself. She goes to that shop every day. She runs respectful business in town. She's not new in this community. This woman has worked hard in this community to run a good business. I really feel that this decision shouldn't be made at these tables tonight. I think this decision should be made by the people of Keene. I think businesses make its own journey. I think businesses will success, and that's what the people wanted. People wanted this business because they're going there. If this business is no good for Keene, the people will tell you that. We don't need to sit around this table and say this. But I'm going to tell you, I would benefit my parents, and I know all my mother's friends would walk down Main Street, stop at Fritz's, stop somewhere else, get a hamburger, make an afternoon on a summer day, go in and play the slot machines, very responsible. I think it's wrong. I think we should really think about this before we make this decision for small businesses. Because a guy like me would love to come to Keene. I think about it all the time, opening another business on Main Street. If it's a legal business, it's a legal business. I've seen businesses come on Main Street that I couldn't believe we allowed opening, and they all failed because they were no good. If this is no good for Keene, let it fall on its face on its own. let it collapse on its own. Let's not make the judgment. Thank you for giving me the time here tonight, and I appreciate it, but I really feel that you guys should really think before we make this big decision, because it's gonna set a statement through all of Keene. I watch my customers come in that go to this casino, all excited. I go and I talk to all my customers. Oh, we just came from the casino. We won $100. Oh, we had such a good time. Now we're here for dinner. I see it every day. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
One moment, Mr. Tempesta. Any questions from councilors?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hay?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for your ongoing hard work. Wow. I speak in favor of the amendment. When I first heard about this, I was kind of surprised. I thought about the character of the town, especially in the square, and how this seemed to stand out as not fitting in. And then when I saw who had proposed it, who had been fighting to save the square, presumably because of the character of it, that didn't make any sense to me. I was thinking of, the film It's a Wonderful Life, when George Bailey gets the opportunity to find out what the world would have been like without him. And he sees Bedford Falls has turned into Potterville. And that's what I was looking at this here. I was thinking, yeah, because this is fitting right in with the character of the square, the town, the main street. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I think it's, get a few blocks away. That's fine. Charitable gaming is, I guess it's good. But remember, in gambling, the losers are paying the winners. And the owners are taking a piece. So they don't care who wins or loses. That's why they advertise, they boldly put out the fact that, oh, so-and-so won a lot of money, but 1,500 people paid them. It's going that way. That's the way it works. It's a regressive voluntary tax on people who don't know math very well. I don't know. I think it would be a huge mistake. And I appreciate your consideration of this, and thank you. Bill Hay, Hay, 22 Middle Street, Keene. Sorry
Thank you
about
very
that.
much.
Thank you.
Any questions, councilors? Thank you, Mr. Hay. Mr. Horton?
Good evening. Rick Horton, 215 Scotland Road, Winchester, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
I always love it when I get a chance to sit and talk. But thank you for the councilors for allowing me to talk. Mayor Khan, congratulations, and it's great to be here to at least talk about business. And you probably wonder why I'm the owner of the Outlaw Brewing Company in Winchester, New Hampshire, a little brewing company that started out in the forgotten corner of the state. And why would I speak about what's happening in Keene? My business was built on the food and beverage industry in Keene. I had a full-time job, raised 5 kids, and decided to start a business. And it was a part-time business. And I started a brewing company. Came out with 1 beer, and I sold it to the businesses in Keene to sell to the consumer. I didn't have a location, and it helped me build a brand. And when I decided to build my brand and start my little business in Winchester, New Hampshire, there were roadblocks. I'm sure many of you know Main Street in Winchester is in pretty much desperation. And if you look at some old maps, the road that runs right straight through Route 10 is called the Dartmouth Highway. The Dartmouth Highway is because Dartmouth College looked at Winchester, New Hampshire, And Winchester, New Hampshire made some mistakes and did not allow that to happen in that town. Same with growing my small business. I had an opportunity to build my business like all of these Vermont breweries had built all of their businesses on an old farm in the middle of nowhere on a road that's in the agricultural district. The opposition that I got to revive an old farm and bring 500 to 1,000 people a weekend to visit me and visit the town of Winchester that has, other than the racetracks, has no tourist business. It's a bedroom town that shuts down and nobody goes to Winchester. Well, we've thrived a little bit over the years, but whenever I hear that there's a town or a city especially that is trying to restrict what can happen, I feel as though you are putting the horse before the cart, right? You're looking at this and saying, we can't have this because it's bad, but you haven't given it a chance. You have enough. The state of New Hampshire, I deal with them on a regular basis, and in the state of New Hampshire, I am the only operating alcohol manufacturer that owns a brewery license, a winery license, and a distiller's license. I do that because we have to have diversity, and we've really, small businesses are really having, it's a tough time right now. I'll be honest with you, we had the worst year in 2023 since we started, and we need to have these outside, the population of Keene needs to be able to help support my little business. We have 2 Airbnbs on site. Where do I send them? I send them to Keene. They come to Hike Monadnock. That's probably our biggest tourist attraction in the area. But there's also, I'm smack dab in the middle. I can send them to Athol, which if you've ever been to Athol, it's a growing community, and they are embracing growth. I can send them to Brattleboro. I can send them to Greenfield. All the same distance from where I'm located. But Keene is where I started. It's what has allowed me to grow my business, to quit my real job, to hire full-time employees, to hire part-time employees. I have some young high school kids that work for me, and they all help to help build this brand and help us sell the brand here in Keene. So I do think I would oppose an ordinance like this, or and allow any business to at least try. Like Jimmy Tempesta, who's a great friend of mine and a customer of mine. It's the American dream. You know, we throw it all out there. I quit my real job with really no money, 5 kids, a wife that had a good job, and she says, do it. What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You gotta go get a real job, right? So 7 years later, we're still going. And we've had our ups and downs, but you know, we come to the Historic Society and the Wyman Tavern Brewfest, and we're well accepted every year, and we win almost every year People's Choice because we love the people of Keene. And I really feel Dory, or any business that is in Keene, is doing the same exact thing. They're here for the community. They're not here just to make money. You know, you want to make $1 million, start with 10, right? That's really what happens with small business. You need to be able to ride out the waves, and any roadblocks are very difficult. The state of New Hampshire has been very great to work with. People are like, you know, all these regulations, it's black and white, right? You can do this, you can't do that. Same with the federal government. The TTB says you can do this, you can't do that. There's no gray area. There's no personal agenda. It's all about business. You can do this, you can do that, pay your taxes. That's how we make money, and that's how we continue to grow. So, but thank you for your time. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Councilors? Thank you, Mr. Horton.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Mr. Hutchinson?
I am Bradford Hutchinson. I'm a long-term resident of the homeless shelter at 305 Marlborough Street. There's only a couple of you that are new, and I know you, so I haven't been able to follow this issue to the detail that I would like, so I'm not going to speak to the specific details of it. but as a member of the community, as the King of Keene, as somebody who's been on Main Street at Keene, downtown Keene, all hours of the day and night, all days of the week, all kinds of weather, I've seen everybody. I know Main Street. When Officer Peliquin appointed me King of Keene, he did so for downtown Keene, Main Street, downtown. I know downtown. Talk to Mayor Kendall Wayne. He'll tell you. I know downtown Keene. I know Main Street. I'm not going to set up a competition. I know it better than so-and-so, or that's not where I'm coming from. Because there's parts of downtown Main Street that, other people know more than I do. This lawyer guy that spoke, very well spoken. I'm glad he spoke before me. He pointed out something. There's no serious opposition to this. Where's the opposition to this coming from? City Hall. And I'm not pointing fingers at any individual. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to get personal about this, because I've got a couple of enemies in the room and too many friends. I don't want to lose any friends, and I don't need any more enemies. Dory hates me already, and I'm not going to get any brownie points with her for speaking out in favor of her casino. We've had a casino at Colony Mill for years and years and years. And then a second casino opened up on Emerald Street. And then the first casino closed, and now we've got a casino. So we have years of experience with casinos in Keene. And if there's been any serious problems, I haven't heard it. And not privy to the police reports or police activity. There's a lot that I don't know, that I freely admit. There could be more problems that I'm not aware of. But what I know myself is these basically haven't presented any major problems. So what I'm seeing here, this opposition, and let's write a city ordinance. What I'm seeing is mean-spirited, petty, and small-minded. Mean-spirited, petty. Like, you're wasting this much time and energy on this? We have real problems in the world. You can pretend this is little Keene, New Hampshire, in your little, private wonderland. Little magic kingdom here in the shadow of Monadnock. Oh, we're the pretty people here. We don't want that. It's a casino. Nobody's getting fooled. Nobody's ever gone to a casino and lost a bunch of money and walked out and said, gee, I didn't know I could lose a bunch of money. People aren't that stupid. But there's a lot of people with a lot of money in the area. There's a lot of money around here. There's a lot of people with money. And they'd like to go out and gamble and throw their money away. Fine. It's their money. It's supposed to be a free country. We don't need mean-spirited, petty, and small-minded bureaucrats and politicians telling people what they can and can't do. Let her open the casino. Let it be a success or not. It's not going to hurt downtown Keene. Oh, we don't want that kind around here. That's just ridiculous. It's emotional opposition. I have not heard one serious, legitimate, real. I'm waiting to hear something from somebody in opposition to this that I can say, hey, yeah, that's a good reason to oppose this. We don't want this casino to come in here. What I see from City Hall, and I'm saying City Hall, again, not pointing fingers at individuals. I don't need any more enemies than I've already got. Lord knows with the CCP, DNC, I got enough. And I'm a registered independent. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I'm too poor. I don't have money to gamble, and I don't drink. I'm not going to be a customer of this new casino. If it opens, I might actually go in there to check it out, but I'm not going to be a patron. They're not going to get any of my money. But the idea that, oh, we don't want that on Main Street. We don't want that around here. There's way too much of that, and it needs to change. And some of you people need to grow up and let the people do what the people are going to do. Let them open the business. If there's a serious concern, let's talk about it. Let's work about it. But this is going to bring in people with money. Oh, we don't want people with money in Keene? We've already got plenty of people with money that don't know what to do with their money, so they go to Boston or New York or go back to Europe. Let's have a casino in town. If she thinks that a small casino is going to work, let her have her casino. If there's a serious reason not to, I have yet to hear it. Some of you are going to vote against it anyway, and nothing I say is going to change that. Oh, well. Some of you are going to vote for it. Thank you very much. Some of you are in the middle or may be willing to change your vote. That's who I'm talking to. Don't let this whole ordinance and Oh, geez. How much more, let's find something really petty to waste our time and money and energy on. And so that allows us to make us think that, oh, we're doing something for the community, because we're wasting a bunch of time, money, and energy on this piddly stuff that isn't gonna, there's no real reason for it. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's a casino. People go and gamble, and they drink, and they have a good time. I don't see that that's gonna be, oh, they're gonna let drug dealers hang out outside? I don't think so. This is an upscale casino. This is Dory we're talking about. We all know her. She's not going to be running some cheap little operation that's going to have a lot of problems in the community. She's a smart businesswoman. She's going to know what potential problems could arise, and she's already got plans to take care of that. Let's work with her on that. Instead of coming up with more roadblocks and speed bumps to development, shut everything down, this negative attitude, that's not what we need. That's what got us to this place in the first place. We need more economic development. We don't need this kind of wasting time, ridiculous nonsense. Be positive, go for it. That's what I say. Please, please let Dory have her casino and get on to something even more important. Thank you very much.
I just want to Mr. Jones, Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to make it clear to the rest of the council, I assume you're going to be sending this to the Planning License Development Committee, and I will be asking the chairman that at that committee, the discussion will be about a particular use in a particular zone and not an individual application. That's not what we are supposed to be looking at. And what we're digesting tonight should be about that.
I appreciate your comment, Counselor Jones. It was my feeling as well. We aren't considering anybody's application. We're considering a definition within zones and an ordinance that might consider that definition. So if the public wishes to continue to speak, please speak to the proposed ordinance that's before us. Mr. Gooden. Oh, Mr. Godell.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm the big bad boogeyman. He's here finally. I'm Jared Goodell, 39 Central Square, Keene. I just want to clarify, there's been some insinuation that I have an economic interest in the casino. I am completely out of it. I sold out of it over a year ago. I have nothing to do with Wonder Casino in Keene any further. There's been some questions tonight. I think the attorney that began the conversation tonight, not the lottery attorney, the private attorney, he mentioned that there is no verifiable information regarding some of the questions that have come up in the previous hearings, specifically relating to traffic and parking. And I would just turn the city councilor's attention down to Marlborough Street when you have a chance, if you have a chance, and take a look at some of the ITE manuals that the Department of Public Works has. These are traffic data sets that are, real studies that are done, and the traffic departments and municipalities across the country and the world use these manuals to figure out how much impact a certain category of business is going to have on our roads, on our parking lots, and our infrastructure, and particularly with traffic. So there is data out there that can kind of give you an idea of what you can expect from a casino. I did build Wonder Casino, and I did operate it for a while, and what I can tell you from the data that is in ITE, it's pretty darn accurate to what I saw as the operator and what I see now operating a business adjacent to Wonder Casino. And that is that casinos generate a fair amount of traffic. In fact, I believe the calculation is something about 1.3 persons per car, which means that for every vehicle that you have on site, it'll carry about 1.3 persons. Now, if you look at a restaurant, it's more like 3 or 4 persons per vehicle. So the amount of vehicle traffic that a casino causes is significantly higher than that of a restaurant. And so that is verifiable information that I'm sure that you can get from the Department of Public Works and the ITE manual. I think it's in the 40s, 44, ITE 44. On the issue of restaurants, there's been some talk about, will the casino have a negative impact, a casino downtown have a negative impact on other businesses, or will it have a complementary impact? And I'd submit to you that I think that, quite frankly, and this is honest to God, the truth, I think that it would have a negative impact. Here's why. People who go to casinos to gamble. I operated a restaurant, food and beverage business within Wonder Casino. We didn't sell a whole lot of food. We didn't sell a whole lot of drinks. Gamblers go to gamble. They sit at machines for hours and hours and hours on end. They sit at tables for hours and hours and hours on end, and they gamble. So, you know, we've heard a lot of discussion about parking downtown in the last, 12 to 18 months with the downtown project. Now, when I was coming over here tonight, 10 of 7, I counted 4 parking spots around the square that were available on a Thursday night at 7 o'clock. That can't support, the current situation cannot support 75 new patrons, which I think is a number that the attorney brought up earlier, being at a casino downtown. It will draw people. People will go there. And restaurants up and down the Main Street will probably suffer from lack of parking. That's already an issue. This sort of use will exacerbate that issue. Now, this idea that the city shouldn't restrict business, I am 100% in agreement with that. I am pro-gaming, I am pro-business. And this city, I believe, is the same way. But the reason why businesses can be successful in this city is because we have really, really good zoning. We put businesses where businesses can succeed. There's been some talk about a nightclub, right, and businesses that can't succeed downtown. There's a nightclub that went in, that existed on Railroad Square now, that's opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed year after year. And the reason is it's not a good location for a business that attracts many, many people. There is simply not enough parking in the downtown area to support a business that requires parking, a significant amount of parking. I would just say that, our downtown looks the way it does because of zoning. We don't have car dealerships downtown. We don't have car washes downtown. We don't have big box stores downtown. And that's because of zoning, right? And that's important. Lastly, I would just say that the voters in Keene have considered gaming many, many times. In fact, where the state law allows the voters to allow or disallow gaming, the voters have routinely turned it down in this city. We can talk about sports betting, which is legal in this state, but only if the voters and the town adopt it. Same goes for Keno. And those issues have come up many times in the last 10 years, and the people of Keene are not, they just turn it down. And so for those of you that are concerned about constituent services and we have these public meetings and we hear from, the vocal crowd, I would just turn your attention to those past votes on where the public sits on it when you are trying to determine whether or not this is the right use for our downtown. I think there should be another casino in Keene if there is one, but I don't think that it should be across the street. That's my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Councilors, questions? Councilor Tobin.
Thank you. I wanted to ask if you could speak at all to, I'm going to call it the turnover rate. So, for example, a place like a coffee shop would have a high turnover rate.
Sure.
People are in and out. Restaurant, a little bit longer.
Sure.
Versus a casino. Where would you kind of place that
So
on the spectrum?
that's in that ITE manual that I spoke about that'll talk about, I believe it's going to be listed as trips per hour or peak trips. That'll be in there. So anything that I'm going to provide you now is off the top of my head and it's anecdotal, but I believe it's somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 hours that a person, parking that vehicle is going to sit for between 3 and 4 hours before it turns over. Which is, I think, contrary to what we want downtown with 1 hour or 2 hour parking. And that's where I think the stress would come on local businesses, particularly shops that are more high turnover businesses or coffee shops that need more parking spots to turn over faster, or even restaurants that are looking for that, 60 to 90 minute turnover. They would be impacted in a big way. And I also want to note, because I've heard this come up, that, there may be parking behind this building, that parking belongs to the county. Whether or not the county offers it, I'm not sure that's a part of this discussion, but I don't think that parking can be factored in. And I also want to lastly note that based on information and belief, this casino has already been offered for sale to one of the bigger companies. And so once this cat is out of the bag and a casino is potentially opened in Keene, casinos never get smaller. I mean, Foxwood started as a bingo hall back in the early 90s. They never get smaller. So a casino will likely grow within the footprint of the west side of Central Square, which, is certainly possible in this scenario. And I don't want to speak about the specific applicant, so I apologize for that. But I just want to say that once the cat is out of the bag, it's really hard to put it back in, and casinos never get smaller, ever. They never get smaller. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hansel?
Peter Hansel, 61 Bradford Road. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm speaking in favor of the amendment. I like the comments that were made by this last gentleman, and I couldn't agree more on certain aspects of it, mainly about the zoning. I've only been a resident of Keene since 1979, so I'm not a native here, but I have been around long enough to see a lot of change. One of the fights that I remember happening right after I moved into Keene was whether or not a zoning ordinance should be maintained regarding a large enclosed mall that was proposed outside of our bypass system. At the time, our master plan said all of that type of construction should be within the bypass system. I lost that battle, although we won a war maybe there. The value of zone, well, I bring that up because it was a very big threat to our downtown at that time. When the Conover Mall was proposed, it was going to be a large enclosed mall as opposed to what it is now. And our downtown really went into fear mode. Fortunately, we survived that transition. In fact, it's spurred on a large renovation of our downtown, beautification of our downtown, and a change in the type of stores and operations that are located downtown. I take a little bit of exception to some comments that were made earlier about how bad our downtown is. I don't believe it is. I think we have one of the greatest downtowns in New Hampshire, certainly, and in New England. And I'm very proud of what we have to offer here. We gave an award to Ted McGreer because he's on our downtown, on our street on downtown, and I think his business is one that we should be proud of, and there are others like that up and down our main street. So I don't think we should be apologizing for anything that happens on our downtown. But it has taken a lot of care to maintain that kind of viability, vibrancy in our downtown, and a lot of that has to do with zoning. The issue is not whether we allow one casino in one location downtown here. If we open the door, we can have multiple casinos. If we open the door, we can have other types of development that we don't want to see. It's already been mentioned, we don't want necessarily have car washes. We don't necessarily want to have drive-through operations. And certainly parking is a big issue downtown, and if it's going to be negatively affected by a casino operation, that's certainly of your purview to take a look at that and make sure that we design our zoning appropriately. I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm anti-casino in general. I've been fighting this battle up at the state legislature years ago when they were deciding whether or not to allow casinos in our state. The law has changed so that certain types of gambling operations have been allowed. I had to swallow that defeat, and we move forward. And I'm not opposed to the existing casino that exists here today. I'm just opposed to changing our downtown zoning so that it will allow not only maybe a new casino to come in, but maybe the one that exists already to move into the downtown, or anybody else that comes in. And like the gentleman here who's been in the business knows, casinos don't get smaller, they get bigger. And is that what we want to see in our downtown? I appreciate your consideration on this, and I hope you vote in favor of the amendment.
Thank you. Questions, councilors? Thank you, Mr. Hansel. And Mr. Coates? This is the last speaker that signed up in advance, in case anybody else is interested in speaking.
Chris Coates, 30 Gilsham Street, Keene, New Hampshire. Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to just say no to the parking in the back lots. Those are county parking lots. Mixed bag for me here tonight. I'm here because I'm uncomfortable with what you've brought forward, and I'll get to that in a moment. The county has worked extremely hard to be good stewards of our properties. We've invested non-taxpayers' monies into upgrading, as you can see, our facilities, our Keene campus. We did it because we want to be another showcase of for the downtown area. That you have this building with the lights on at night that look up at the cupola. You've got our West Street buildings. You've got our new courthouse, and we take great pride in all those facilities, and try to make sure they're addressed well. And we've restored them, not just renovated them. And the inside of the building is just as beautiful as the outside building now. We did that because we take great pride in our community, but in the same breath, I'm concerned in the sense that we are starting to look at, you're about to dive into the master plan, and you're creating a policy here that may have some ripple effects of things that we're seeing nationally, and that concern me. And by the way, we have had box stores downtown in the past. Sears didn't make it. It was an ugly building downtown, and we got rid of it. And we also had a car dealership just off Main Street on Church Street for years. I must mean I've been here way too long to know that. But as we go down this road and we start looking at the future, the evolution of the downtown, I'm concerned that we start making plans. And I understand anything I'm going to say here tonight can be refuted by anybody here. I get that. But my concern is that we are starting to say a little bit clearer what we don't want downtown and what's next. What's next? Is a store that sells pagan items going to be a targeted thing? Is a shop that has a shop that sells drug supplies, downtown, going to be something that we could be looking at? Do we at some point look at, that 50% of anybody going through the doorway right now has alcohol substance issues that they're struggling with? And so do we take a look at the bars up and down the street? Do we start really taking a look at our Main Street and doing things that do we not allow lottery tickets to be sold downtown at our gas stations on downtown? I don't pretend to know the answer to this, and I'm not here to tell you, but I have a concern, and that is the concern is that you may be unknowingly creating a monster of what is next. And so I just ask that you really take the time to take a look at this in committee and understand that anything you start today, there may be side effects that you may feel down the road. I don't know. I know I'm not supposed to say that talk to the applicant thing. I don't agree with that, though. I don't know her well enough. I just know she's our neighbor, and that we've had a good working relationship with that neighbor. When we've had issues, we've been able to talk. When she's had concerns, she's come to us because we share a parking lot. So, and she seems to be a good business owner. And so that's it. I'm not here to tell you I'm for or against. I have real grave concern of how we're starting to move down the road and starting to really, we already have some of this stuff in our city, And I don't know if it's the right or wrong to have it downtown, but my concern is, as you go into this, is it other things that we're gonna see that we can't have downtown either? And that's all, and I appreciate the time tonight. Thank you.
Any questions, public? Sorry, councilors? Thank you, Mr. Coates. I see Mr. Tousley's hand raised. Would you care to offer testimony? I just remind the public, we've been at this for about an hour and 15 minutes, and if you could keep your comments to only what's new and just express your support or opposition to the resolution. Mr.
Toby Tousley, 500 Washington Street in Keene. So I'm not going to express opposition one way or the other. Like Chris, I've been here forever, only I've been here a year longer than Chris has, so that's bragging rights. And also I'd like to point out there was 2 car dealerships on Main Street. One was where the bookstore is now. At any rate, you know, what has come up repeatedly, and Chris was just elaborating on it, is about limiting businesses. Business owners have passionately talked about how you shouldn't limit business, but we do. We've done this. This city council has done this. And so it is in your purview. I don't know why the lawyer spoke earlier, said you can't do this because you've already done this. Sexually oriented businesses are not allowed on Main Street. In fact, they're not allowed almost anywhere. They're very, very limited where you can put that. You've already done this. You already do this. Like I said, I don't think I really care one way or the other how you guys go on this. I don't think I really do. But you are allowed to do that. You already do it. I don't know why this all talk. It's already done. That's what I need to say.
Thank you, Mr. Tousley. Any other comment? Mr. McGrew?
Hi again, Ted McGreer, 115 Main Street, Keene. I'm struggling here, I'm sure as you guys are too. My residence is 18 Forest View Road, Keene.
Thank you.
I can't imagine as an entrepreneur coming to this town 25 years ago and being told that my type of business wasn't allowed. I have the only retail store. I own that building that has private parking in the back. The Colonial Theater has 700 or 800 people on a Friday and Saturday night. I don't have a problem seeing people parking in my lot who are attending the Colonial Theater shows. I still have ample parking for my customers. So how do they do it every single weekend? And it doesn't seem to affect restaurants. It helps. I've sat on 10 nonprofit boards. I think Mr. Goodell could probably speak to the amount of money that came out of the Wonder Casino to support nonprofits in this community. This holiday season, we had a pretty tough December as a retail store in Keene. We lost Miller Brothers last year, and the kitchen store this is the third year they're gone, but commerce is the word I'm looking at, and there was a lot less people meandering around downtown. It just, December 23rd was supposed to be a huge business day for us, and we didn't do half what we thought we would do. And so we could have a restaurant row here, but that's not driving commerce. And so when we bring people to our downtown, retailers and stores and restaurants win. Keep in mind, if you are a business in this corridor, you have to abide by the sign code, which is no illuminated signs, no animatronic signs in this corridor. We're not going to have blinking lights all up and down Main Street like Vegas. But I think that if this can be done responsibly and tastefully, I can't see, I just think we have to be really, really careful about limiting an entrepreneur from creating jobs and having a business in this corridor. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further hands up, I will close the public hearing except for written comments. Written comments they'll be accepted until 1 p.m. next Tuesday. Well, that's not next Tuesday, up until February 6th. Is that right?
Before the PLD, I'm sorry. Yep.
The Tuesday before our PLD meeting which is on the 7th. They'll be accepted, written comments are accepted until February 6th. They must be signed and submitted to the city clerk by that date and time to be included in the record. This ordinance will be considered by the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee at their next regularly scheduled meeting on February 7th. There will be no public comments accepted at that meeting. I will now close the hearing. Would the council like a 5-minute break? Let's keep it rolling. Okay, hearing is closed. I'd like to call on Councilor Greenwald for a motion. Yes, we are moving on to elections, nominations, appointments, and confirmations.
Would you let me read them again?
Oh, you do have to read them, I guess. Thank you.
This would be for the mayor's nominations at our previous meeting, and they would include, to the Ashwillet River Park Advisory Board, Diane Matthews. This is a renomination. These are current members that were eligible for second terms for the most part. To the Assessors Board, Jason Frost, also a renomination, December 31, 2026. To the Bicycle Pedestrian Path Advisory Board, our council, Ed Haas, I believe he's serving as a citizen member at this point, December 31, 2026. To the Building Board of Appeals, Donald Flibbit, December 31, 2026. To the Congregate Care and Social Services Licensing Board. Before I read these, I forgot to tell you, there's a few little corrections in this set of nominations. So the city attorney gave me a little better understanding of the word ex officio. And so we mistakenly have applied that term to, in this instance, Med Kupczynski, serving on the Congregate Living and Social Services Licensing Board. Med is a staff member, has no term as a staff member, so it is inappropriate to refer to him as ex officio to Congregate Living. So we have removed that ex officio description. He's now identified as staff, and his term now shifts to a normal 3-year term, so December 31, 2026. Also to Congregate Living and Social Services, Thomas Stavastano and Jennifer Sayer, those are renominations. To the Conservation Commission, Council Williams, ex officio, properly called ex officio. Eloise Clark, shifting from regular to alternate. John Therio, a second term as an alternate. To Energy and Climate Committee, Councilor Omerod, ex officio. Jude Nehru, a renomination. And Charles Redfern as an alternate, also renomination. To the Historic District Commission, Hope Bennick, that's a renomination, December 31, 2026. Russ Fleming was a regular, shifting to the alternate and picking up an unexpired term. That's why would it have a term of expiration December 31, 2024. To the Housing Standards Board of Appeal, which has the same membership as the Building Board of Appeal, it is Don Flibbit, December 31, 2026. Now to the Human Rights Committee, we had the same situation with Marty Fisk. She's a staff member, she has no term as a staff member. It was inappropriate to identify her as ex officio on the Human Rights Committee. So we've removed that description and have now extended her term out an additional year. In addition, since the mayor prepared these nominations, we were contacted by Hunter Kirshner. He was eligible for a second term on Human Rights and has now declined it. So his name is now stricken for your vote that'll follow this reading. Daniel Aronson, current member, seeking second term, so December 31, 2026. And Ritu Bodakiti, alternate to regular, so shifting from an alternate member to a regular, December 31, 2026. To the Partner City Committee, Mary Bruner, December 31, 2026. Ex officio, Councilor Madison, December 31, 2025. And Michael Giacomo, who was the ex officio member, now has left the council and now is joining as a regular member, December 31, 2024. To the Planning Board, Michael Remy, ex officio, December 31, 2025. Roberta Mastro Giovanni, renomination, December 31, 2026. Gail Summers as an alternate, December 31, 2026. Tammy Adams, again alternate, December 31, 2026. And to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Richard Clough, December 31, 2026.
I'd only add here that you'll notice some of these are ex officio. We aren't going to take this up today. Of our 20 statutory committees and policy advisory boards and commissions, some have ex officio members, some do not. Some have counselors that serve on because there's been a counselor recurringly on those boards as members. And so you see where we might want to just review the 20 commissions, boards, and statutory committees, just to see if we've got the right alignment and on all of them. With that, Councilor Greenwald for a motion.
Second.
This is a roll call.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
And Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
And we have a confirmation of an appointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Do we need to acknowledge this?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And it is for Edward Guyot. He would be going to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and the term would expire December 31, 2026. This was tabled at your previous meeting.
Counselor Greenwald for a motion, please.
Move to confirm the nomination.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Greenwald, seconded by Counselor Bosley, and would the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
And you have before you a series of nominations to boards, commissions, and committees. Are we going to read
We
through
must.
all of these?
We must.
Thank you. Clerk Little,
Okay.
please read them.
So the Bicycle Pedestrian Path Advisory Board, it is Diane Duffy serving as an alternate, term to expire December 31, 2025. Samantha Jackson and Autumn Delacroix, they're current members, they're eligible for a second term, but they're moving to regular, they're alternate members moving to regular. December 31, 2026 for Samantha, December 31, 2025 for Autumn. To the Conservation Commission, as a new member, Barbara Richter, December 31, 2026. To Congregate Care and Social Services Licensing Board, Ashkak Ball, and December 31, 2026. That would be an alternate slot, though. To the Planning Board, Sarah Venazia, December 31, 2026. That's a regular member. And Mike Hoffer, that's an alternate, December 31, 2026. And to the Trustees of Trust Funds and Cemetery Trustees, Eli Thayer, regular member, December 31, 2026.
Counselor Greenwald, I'm sorry, this one, we'll table this motion to the next council meeting. And a nomination to the Keene Housing Authority.
And it is for Emily Benson, regular slot, and it would be December 31, 2028, five-year term for this board.
And we'll table this motion till the next council meeting. Okay, communications. We have two communications before us. And before we refer Counselor Greenwald's letter, I'd like to recognize Counselor Greenwald for a moment.
Thank you. Thank you. So before you is a communication that I sent in that will be directed hopefully to the city manager as well as to the MSFI committee. We're about to take up the downtown project once again, except this time we're going to do it in the spirit of cooperation. And what I'm urging is that the council be involved proactively, not reactively as it was previously. If you have any ideas, if you hear anything from your constituents, write it down, get it to the city manager particularly, or to myself, so it can be relayed onto the staff and the consultant for discussion and analysis. This is a project that it is my hope we will design together, and we will do it, again, in the spirit of cooperation, because it really was a pretty brutal process previously. A lot has been laid out. We have a basic concept, but now we're into what was being called final design. a lot of the fine points, and that's really, the devil's in the details, that's it. So, and that's what I've laid out in my communication, some issues that I've heard that are important to me. And I urge you all to please pay close attention so that we can really push this through. None of us are getting any younger, and I'd like to see this downtown project in the ground as soon as possible. Thank you.
And we'll refer this communication to the city manager and to the MSFI committee. And Councilor Remy, your communication, any comment?
Just briefly, this probably made a little more sense a couple weeks ago before there was actually any snow. But it was one where we had a parking ban that began in November, and there's been no snow and no inkling of snow for a little while. So something where I want to take a look at if there are other ways to determine whether parking is or not allowed in our downtown area during those periods of time when there's really no snow on the horizon, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor, and we'll refer this to the MSFI committee as well. We have a report from, wait, we're moving on to reports. Our first request is for the use of city property for the Ice and Snow Festival on February 3rd, 2024. Councilor Powers for a motion, please.
May I read it?
Okay. Of course.
Thank you, thank you. Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee report relative to a request to use city property for the Ice and Snow Festival. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends that the Keene Downtown Group be granted a street fair license to use downtown city rights-of-way for purposes of conducting merchant sidewalk sales, as well as use of downtown city property on Central Square, Railroad Square, designated parking spaces on Central Square, Main Street, to conduct the Ice and Snow Festival on Saturday, February 3rd, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and reserving an inclement weather date of Sunday, February 4th. In addition, the applicant is permitted to close off a portion of Railroad Street from Main Street to the exit of the Wells Street parking garage. This permission is granted subject to the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement, submittal of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, listing the city of Keene as additional insured, submittal of signed letters of permission from the owner for any use of private property, compliance with any recommendations of staff. In addition, the petitioner is granted use of the requested parking spaces free of charge using the provisions of the free parking policy. The petitioner does agree to absorb the cost of any services over and above the amount of city funding allocated in the FY24 community events budget.
Thank you. And Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy.
Here we are, downtown. Mr. Remillard joined us. He is the chairman of the Downtown Group and the sponsor of the Keene Ice and Snow Festival. It's the 21st time. Essentially, the details of it were read by the city clerk. Saturday, February 3rd, 10 a.m. to 4. Weather, the right weather, just cold enough. Program was reviewed by city staff. It meets the criteria, and it is funded in our community events program. And as mentioned, if there's additional expenses, the group will bear those costs. So we recommend that this is passed, approved. Thank you.
Comments from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Thank you very much. Looks unanimous. Moving on to 2024 New Hampshire Department of Safety State Homeland Security allocation of a grant to the police department. Clerk, read it. Motion.
On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to apply for, accept, and expend the 2024 New Hampshire Department of Safety State Homeland Security NHTOA Team Allocation Grant in the amount of $5,142.41.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy.
Finance
Comments?
Committee was joined with Captain Tenney of the Police Department, reporting on this is really an annual event coming out of the Department of Safety, their Homeland Security Office, and it is in the amount of $5,142.41, and it'll be used this year for the tactical team purchase of a new shield and a radio headset for the officer that works in that particular position on the team. I think Captain reviewed a couple other purchases in prior years. It's very important that these kinds of funds come along to make sure that our equipment is maintained and is suitable for the work that's done. Finance Committee recommends that you approve this also. Thank you.
Comments from the council? Seeing none, we'll take the roll call. All those in favor, raise your hand. Looks unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to item 3. Would the clerk read the motion, please?
We have a Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to a New Hampshire Highway Safety Equipment Grant. This is again for the Police Department. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept and expend the FY24 New Hampshire Highway Safety Equipment Grant in the amount of $64,673.50.
Any comments from the, oh, I'm sorry. Motion from Councilor Powers, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers and seconded by Councilor Remy.
Captain Tenney joined us for his second presentation. And this is very opportune for us that this grant came along. Obviously, they've been applying for various grants as they become available. But this will cover the replacement of the computer equipment that's in the police fleet, the entire fleet. There's about 13 units that have this in each and every car. Some cars are working just fine with the equipment, others are not. This will upgrade the capability, and it's pretty important. So what's gonna happen is the amount of money that's in this year's budget is about the 25% it takes to accept this and do the whole program in 1 year. So very good, very program. We're very lucky to have this. Finance voted unanimously to approve it. I hope you'll do the same.
Any comments from the council? Seeing none, do a roll call vote. All those in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Thank you. It is unanimous. You know, it's kind of, the state senate, they just, ayes, nays, sometimes. All right, moving on to item number 4, and Invest New Hampshire accepting funds. Would the clerk read the motion, please?
On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept funds awarded to the city by the Invest New Hampshire program of the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs as a result of the development of 15 affordable housing units located at the private housing development at 310 Marlborough Street.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers and seconded by Councilor Remy.
This was brought to us by the Community Development Director, Jesse Rounds. This is a great opportunity. You know, we've talked so many times about housing, and essentially what's happened here is that the 310 Marlborough Street firm that is taking that older building, rehabilitating it, adding on, and is essentially going to have 51 housing units in the building when it's all said and done, along with some businesses that are already there and an expansion of businesses. That made that project eligible for this Invest New Hampshire program that comes from the Department of Business and Economic Affairs. So 15 of those units are going to be at affordable housing rents. Makes it eligible for the program at $10,000 per unit. So the city will receive $150,000, which will come in. You're going to approve this, I hope. And it'll come into our financial system, and it'll be put into our regular accounting, and then for it to come back out, it'll come back to us as an expenditure for a program that's very much like this, I hope. But at any rate, there's no strings attached to this, but I'm sure we'll use it in the proper way for housing. Unanimously voted, approved by the Finance Committee. Hope you do the same.
Council, any comments? So we're voting on the accepting of these funds and not on its use at this time. Seeing no comments, all those in favor, please raise your hand. It is carried unanimously. And moving on to item number 5.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to recommended actions to address the current and future state of the city's street trees. This originally came from the Conservation Commission. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the report be accepted as informational and that the manager be directed to consider the recommendations as part of the upcoming budget and capital planning processes.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy, and Councilor Powers, please address it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sparky Von Plinsky and several others joined us last week, and we had a very good conversation. A worthwhile conversation at the appropriate time, and it's really a conversation we probably should have had many, many years ago. But economically, we haven't been able to carry out some of the ideas, but this is a little bit a kick to all of us to get going. So the Conservation Commission has discussed this for several meetings and wrote the letter to the City Council and asked us to start to participate in a program that, one, would do an inventory of the trees on public ways, and maybe it might be just a little bit over the sidewalk or something like that, but at least it'll give us an inventory of the trees that affect our roadways, sidewalks, and our community. And then from that, we'll know where our greatest needs would be, those that are in bad shape. And next would be those areas that are under construction or reconstruction. And then lastly, a funding program that could address it. Some of that, of course, will be in the budget for routine yearly maintenance to trees, and others are going to be fairly expensive, but several other communities have developed programs where it's a, I can't think of the right term, but pick a tree. You know, if you want to contribute, be maybe 50% from the homeowner, 50% from the city, or 10% from this. But at any rate, it's showing a lot of interest, and it could bring a lot of success and stretch our dollars to go much further. And again, it would be just a plus to the community. So Finance Committee recommends that this be adopted by the City Council. Thank you.
And Mr. Von Plinsky is the chair of the Conservation Commission that brought these ideas forward. Any comments from the council? Councilor Williams.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to FOP for receiving the Conservation Commission's recommendation with a very good discussion. I think you know, it's widely recognized that a lot of our beautiful trees in Keene are getting on the older side and might not be with us for, you know, another 20 years. And we need to start thinking about what's going to replace them, especially as we have you know, pests like the emerald ash borer coming in and you know, taking out quite a number of trees. And I also just want to say I appreciate the work that staff has put in on this as well. You know, the first thing the Conservation Commission did when we had this conversation was we brought in Kurt Blomquist and we picked his brain. So a lot of these ideas about doing a tree survey and understanding what the scope of the problem is, you know, that originates with Kurt. And I appreciate that city staff is already looking at this. And I think it's going to be great that the idea is to treat trees as the assets, the infrastructure assets that they are, which means keeping track of them in you know, the same software that we use to keep track of our roads, to keep track of our other assets, our sidewalks. It's an asset management program. And I appreciate all the thought that's gone into this, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just as an amendment, it's just a request that the summary of this, if it passes the council, be sent to the master plan steering committee, because I think that could be a help to them also.
Thank you for that suggestion. Councilor Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would second Councilor Jones's request, and I would also second Councilor Williams's comments that trees really are a part of our infrastructure. And there's a concept that I kind of want the Master Plan Committee and the rest of you to think about, and there's a concept called ecosystem services, which basically means that our environs can provide services to our community, which you can actually place a dollar amount to. And the trees we have, not just in downtown Keene, but in the uplands around Keene, provide us with a pretty vital flood control service. They soak up a lot of water during storms, and they help hold soil in place, which helps prevent erosion and runoff. So the street trees we have are a vital part of our stormwater system. And I think it is a good idea that we treat them as infrastructure and develop what is effectively an asset management plan for this ecosystem service. So I really appreciate Mr. Von Plinsky bringing this to the attention of the council, and I really hope this is something that the Master Plan Committee thinks about and that we continue to work on.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hands, and that carries unanimously as well. And Councilor Powers, if your knees can still take this, item number 6.
Our boss is,
Right,
she's gonna-
right.
Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee report relative to the cemetery master plan. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee recommends the expenditure of up to $65,000 in the Cemetery Trust Fund B capital reserves be authorized for a professional services contract to create a master plan for Monadnock View Cemetery.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Be careful, we only get 2 strikes.
I think I'm out.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We were joined by Mr. Bohannon from Parks, Recreation, and Facilities to talk about a survey of the remaining plot of land that the city owns for cemetery development. We're gonna have to use it sooner or later. And we're at that point now where of all the plots that are owned by the city for cemeteries, Monadnock View on Park Avenue is the only one that has a sizable amount of space left. There may be a plot here or there on some of the others, but in reality, we need to move forward and lay out that property in a fashion that'll meet the needs of our community for a long time. It's been discussed a number of times over the last few years, but it's now the time to move forward. So Andy's met with the trustees of the trust fund. He's looked at finances of the city. He's talked to city staff. And this is the recommendation that we hire a vendor that specializes in laying out cemeteries. And we get a plan put together to bring back for future use as we begin to develop that area and do some financing. And the money's in the Cemetery Trust Fund B. Those funds come about when you buy your plot in the cemetery. Half the money goes into Plan A, and the other half goes into Plan B. I'm not sure why we do it that way, but it's a way to finance, at least the two programs begin to finance the future, the maintenance and the future of the cemeteries. So the committee discussed it and unanimously recommended, I think it was unanimous, that this go forward for the city council to approve, and then staff can get together on selecting a vendor. Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, roll call, show of hands, please. Glad the motion passes unanimously. Now to recognize Assistant City Manager Beth Fox for the city manager's comments.
Good evening. Thankfully, and very effectively, the Mayor Khan covered all the comments I had tonight, which were relative to the scheduling of Saturday's event and the ongoing schedule for the capital improvement programs review process. So all I'm going to say is snacks and goodies at 7:30, be there at 8. So look forward to seeing you all. Staff is looking forward to having the chance to spend time with you and talk about the capital plans and the future of the city.
Councilor Madison?
Will there be coffee?
There will be coffee.
Thank you.
Staff would not come, I don't think, if there wasn't coffee.
Our incentive here is that we will be concluding by 10:30 or maybe a few minutes before that. Oh, you have before you the CIP program, a draft of that. And tonight we are, I'm going to refer that CIP plan, that capital improvement plan, to the planning board and to the finance organization and personnel committee. And a public hearing will be set on the capital improvement plan for March 7th at 7 p.m. And now we move on to resolutions.
We have a memorandum from the city engineer relative to Resolution R 2024-04. It's a resolution that would authorize the acceptance and appropriation of unanticipated bridge revenue.
I'd like to recognize, let's see, do we need to
No, it's a
act on that? It's
referral.
just been referred already. Thank you very much. Did you want to say anything more about, I would just commend that, I think the memo that the city manager put together for the council relative to the capital improvement plan is in our packets. I think it's well put together. It provides a good context for our consideration, so I commend it to our reading. At this point, I'd like to recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion to enter into non-public session.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to go into non-public session to discuss the release of non-public minutes under RSA 91-A3 to brackets M.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Greenwald, seconded by Councilor Bosley. We'll do a roll call vote.
Council Bosley?
Yes.
Council Tobin?
Yes.
Council Remy?
Yes.
Council Filio?
Yes.
Council Williams?
Yes.
Council Haas?
Yes.
Council Jones?
Yes.
Council Madison?
Yep.
Council Roberts?
Yes.
Council Ormerod?
Yes.
Council Lake?
Yes.
Council Workman?
Yes.
Council Chadbourne? Council Powers?
Yes.
Council
Yes.
Greenwald?
The motion carries. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Recess?